we're going to bring up our next panel. Let me just get my notes here for a second. And this is going to be around an IT management panel, navigating risk and opportunities in the ever-changing MSP landscape, insights from industry experts. And I'm going to bring up Kathleen, who's going to be moderating. Welcome, Kathleen.
And hey, great to be here.
Absolutely, great to have you. And we're going to bring up the rest of the panel, and then it's yours to moderate.
Thank you. Oh, look at those fantastic faces. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are.
Hello.
Hi. As you heard, my name is Kathleen Martin, and I am excited about this panel. We've spent some time talking and prepping for this, but today we're really going to talk to you about risk. What does risk look like, and how do you navigate it in our ever-changing, all-the-time landscape? So I'd like to start by asking each one of my guests to briefly introduce themselves. Andrew.
Yes, hello. Oh, no, go on.
Andrew, let's start with you.
So Andrew Eardley, I ran MSP for 25 years until I sold my business last year. So I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Now I run MSP Easy Tools, the complete Office 365 security toolkit, and we'll touch on that a bit later.
Anne-Marie?
Oh, hi, folks. I'm Anne-Marie Moore. I work for a company called Media Sonar, and we actually work in the whole digital risk assessment space and help organizations understand what exposures they have out there in the big world of public online networks as far as the surface, deep, and dark web. So I'm kind of excited for this conversation today when we're starting to talk about risk.
And Brock.
Yes, hello, I'm Brock Kafin, the partner manager for Printix. I've been in cloud printer management for about 8 years now, and I know I'm still pretty new to the game, right? But I'm hoping to bring a little bit of insight today.
Well, I think all of you have a ton of insight to share, so let's jump right in. This first question, I'm going to give to you, Anne-Marie. This is coming right at you. So how can MSPs be watching the trends, pay attention to everything that their customers are looking for in this ever-changing economy? It's been up, it's been down, it's been back, it's been forth. Everything's a threat, everything's a risk. Tell me a little bit about what MSPs can build in their practice.
Sure. Actually, it's funny. I was just listening to what Justin had to say, and there's some pretty common themes, I think, that have happened today. And for me, no matter what the trends are out there, you got to pay attention through discussion, because the trends that are important are only those that resonate with your customer base. You can spend a lot of time chasing a lot of things. There is a specific table stakes change, again, that I think carries on from what Justin had said, that I'd encourage any MSP to really understand and assess specifically for their customers, because I think it's a great opportunity for meaningful discussion. And it has to do with that whole digital risk landscape. Really understanding and making sure your customer base knows what their attack surface is at the end of the day, because it is different for everybody. And there is a real compelling argument that the external attack surface is a whole different monster for all of us today. And a lot of things have changed that. I heard the conversation about hybrid and remote work. That just changes the game for sure. And it doesn't matter if you're enterprise or SMB. It's a risk landscape for all of us. The explosion and evolution of cloud, right? It's kind of a standard from an IT network perspective. Shadow IT, which has been here for decades, is never going to go away and is exacerbated by all of that. So I think with all of that related to, what the table stakes is, with all of that comes a change in expectations and scrutiny too. And Justin even touched on that. He took a lot of my thunder, actually, as he's going through it. But it's not just about a compliance, though. It's about, for an MSP, your customer and their customers, in terms of demand, and that also extends to the insurance providers. What are you doing about keeping that data secure and private, and understanding that attack surface is really broad and it extends beyond your network walls?
So Brock, risk, printing, where does this all come together? Kind of help us understand that intersection.
Yeah, I think Anne-Marie hit it on the head. To me, there is no single almighty resource that's going to help you stay ahead of all risk and all trends, and you just have to go to one website and you're going to get everything you ever want. To me, it's all about being a part of the community, right? That is the best way to not only stay ahead of trends, but be a part of them as well as they're happening. And you can help, develop, even if it's, issues, you can help develop fixes for the rest of the community who are looking or who are going to be looking for a solution to a problem that you may be encountering now. And of course, I'm speaking to the choir here because that's what everybody is doing today. And channel program just happens to be an awesome way to do that and to stay a part of the community.
Andrew, I see you shaking your head. So bring us home on this thought.
Yeah, I think one of the big aspects that we deal with as an MSP is we try to, we are responsible for everything. Whether the client pays us for it is another thing. That's another conversation. But, they look to us to fix their problems. But, looking back at history, how many products do we actually, as an MSP, cover? Way too many is the honest answer. We're trying to cover printing, we're trying to cover Google, we're trying to cover Microsoft, we're trying to cover on-prem servers at every type of age. You can't be an expert at everything. It's impossible. So one of the things I really embrace and embraced in my previous business was KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Reduce the risk. And by reducing actually what you cover, you actually make yourself a much better team, much better for your end clients. Risk is one thing, but as I said, you can't cover everything. So you do have to focus on what you're expert or you want to be an expert at and reduce what you're looking after. Either get your clients to move to the products that you want, as we did. We moved from SPS 2011, 2008 on-prem servers. We moved them into Office 365. That's where we moved them into. I'm not saying Office 365 is the only place. You choose what you want to move them to, but just go to the one. If your clients don't want to move, then very politely move your clients on.
So Andrew, as long as we're with you, let's go to our next question, which is, we look at the risk that businesses are open to through any of their customer engagements, correct? And as we do that from Office 365, like you just mentioned, to their web interactions, to the security of data, we heard earlier, obviously the front door is open the second you let somebody into your business. How does a business, begin to learn what they don't know? How do they know what they don't know?
Yeah, well, that's the first thing. I think going back to what Brock and Anne-Marie were talking about, it's the community. You can't be an MSP in isolation anymore. You can't just sit doing the things that you've always done. Go back to the good old days when we were break fix and we earned a lot of money for when clients called up. You've got to move on with the times now. The biggest threat to an MSP's livelihood today, let's not just talk about, it's not about your business that's a threat now as an MSP owner. It's actually your livelihood. That, are you going to have a home to live in? That's really what it's up to nowadays. If you as an MSP owner, your clients get breached, your name's gone. It's maybe the business name's gone, but really it's your name, because most MSPs, it's the MSP owner's name that they really buy into. So you've got to be very careful about what you're doing. And the only way you're going to know what you don't know is by talking and being in the community and then figuring out the bits that you need to be on top of. Partner up with the right companies to do the bits that you need to do. Specialists in their field. In the UK, we call them general practitioners. I think in the US, they're called primary care physicians. You can't be a primary care physician anymore. We can, as an MSP owner, be the GPs, but you have got to be working with the specialists. You've got to know the guy that's the specialist in cardiology to fix your heart, or the guy that's going to look after your lungs, or whatever it is. You've got to deal with the specialists. You cannot be general anymore. There are too many attack points, and you are going to get hit. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when, unless you use the right people to help you stay on top and keep the cyber criminals away from your front door.
So Brock, as I think about this, what are some of the things that MSPs are overlooking in your opinion? As we consider this, what is that average MSP business owner overlooking today when it comes to risk?
Yeah, and I don't want to say people are overlooking this necessarily, because there are a lot of really smart MSPs out there who are already very aware of most of the issues that they are facing today. But in my mind, and especially around printing, because that's what I'm most familiar with, but it applies to everything, is accessibility. How cheap is tech today? Any user can jump on Amazon and buy a $40 Wi-Fi printer and set it up in their home and start printing sensitive information. And they may even think that, hey, I'm helping the company here. I'm saving them money on ink and toner and whatever. And I'm a workaholic and I just want to get my work done and then take it into the office. And nobody else is going to see these documents. I'm going to hold them in my hand the entire time. I'm going to get them there to the office. It's going to be fine. And they just don't know that that is a risk. And it's a huge risk, and cheap tech will always be around. It'll keep getting worse, of course, but the best thing to do is not necessarily be aware of the risks as an MSP, but focus on education and educating customers where a risk may arise.
You mean like maybe putting sensitive documents on Discord? I don't know. Something like that could happen. Not that, any of us
Exactly.
would ever see that. So Anne Marie, what are the downsides? And not like I just brought one up.
Yeah.
Of the risk of the access to all of this, right? Access to the internet, access to data, access that they don't even realize they have.
Well, let me address it maybe in a different way, because I think we all know the downside, right? Some of that,
Yep.
I think that's obvious. I've heard it. Andrew touched on it a little bit. I think at the end of the day, as an MSP, the critical role related to that is you've got the downside, and working with clients is really that operating philosophy. It's not a matter of if you get breached. It's a matter of when. So what can I do best with you in terms of the services I bring and or the people, the specialists I bring to the table? Because in my mind, I am your MSP. And frankly, we're building out this blueprint together that we're going to optimize your tech stack. We're going to make you run efficiently, effectively. We're going to deal with all that operating risk. And in the meantime, we're also going to make sure making those decisions, are we managing the security piece of it too? And I think that is the critical, like at the baseline of all the conversations now, it really should be about that. It's not about if, it is about when. What are we doing about it? And how can we optimize your spend and match it with your tolerance of what you want to do?
That's a great way to be talking about it. So let's move into our third question. And Brock, you kind of touched on this, device creep. Oh, that is my least favorite thing. It's almost worse than project scope creep, device creep. How does a business owner working with their MSP really consider the security and operational aspects of device creep?
Yeah, device creep will never stop. We need to get that out of our heads now. It's never going to stop. Tech will keep getting cheaper, more accessible, more users will keep getting more of it and bringing it into the office or using it at their homes. So in terms of risk, we shouldn't be looking at battling device creep head on, beating users over the head saying, stop bringing stuff in, stop getting, this old phone and bringing it in, stop bringing in your laptop, stop, printer, whatever. And we should be looking at assisting users in doing their job the best and most secure way possible, because most users are not out to get the company. They don't come into the office every day and say, how am I going to create more risk for the company? They just want to do their job in the most efficient way possible, and sometimes that most efficient way doesn't align with the most secure way of doing their job. But as an MSP, if you have the right tools to come to them and say, hey, I notice you're doing it this way. What if I gave you a tool to do it this way? We kind of meet in the middle, and it's still going to be efficient for you, but it's going to be more secure. And I know users can be hard to work with, right? And sometimes they just don't trust you, or they don't care to work with you on finding the most secure way of doing things. But building their trust is really important. checking up with them, regularly and saying, hey, is there anything I can do for you to help you do your job a little better? Or are you dealing with any issues right now that I can help you with? And if you help them with a small problem, they're going to trust you the next time they come to a problem and they say, okay, I want to go buy a printer right now and just have it on my desk and do it because that's going to save me a ton of time. Instead, they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, is there something I can do about this? Like, I'm really sick of walking downstairs every day to get my print jobs. Like, can you help me?
Andrew, it seems like we are singing right from your song sheet. I'm watching smiles, head nods, agreement. So share a little bit about your thoughts when it comes to device creep and the risk that are associated with it, or alternatively, the opportunity for MSPs to come in and use this to their advantage.
I think you've got to see everything as an opportunity more than anything else. You need to be their point of reference for when they do need to get new devices. You've got to instill in them that you're not there to make a massive profit. You're not. You're there to make sure they're secure, make sure you've got their best interests at heart. We are, as an MSP, their trusted advisor. If you're not the trusted advisor, you need to work on that. If you're just there as break fix, you haven't really got a job. That's not a role anymore for an MSP. We are their trusted advisor. They're the person they turn to every time they've got a single thought about spending money in terms of buying some technology, whether that be software or physical hardware. It should always be, Mr. MSP, what should I be doing here? Why? And you've got to give them a true, honest answer. You don't have to provide the service. You don't have to provide the kit. All you should really be doing for the majority of it is pointing at somebody else to provide it for them. Even if it's, as it sounds, go and buy this device from Amazon and here's the link for it, or go to the big box stores to buy this or the other. It's not about you earning profit every single time you talk to them. You're building trust every single time that you talk to them. That is critical because you can then get in when you need to.
I love that statement, building trust every time you talk to them.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about risk. We've talked about deployments. We've talked about tools. We've talked about security. I've heard from all three of you kind of where things align. But Anne-Marie, this one's for you. What is the difference for those that are listening between IT, security, services and solutions, and delivery? Because there's a big difference.
Oh, yeah. And I actually don't want to insult anybody with my answer. Like I would like to think it's
simple. Andrew told us early on. We're going with the KISS theory here.
I think that the IT service and solutions are one thing. IT security service delivery has to do with you really understanding your customer's digital landscape, their blueprint. That's the distinction, and that speaks to what Andrew was just chatting about in terms of that trusted advisor. Overall, I'm a big believer that with this conversation, having that blueprint conversation with your customer, understanding what that attack surface possibly looks like for them, who they interact with, what their network looks like, what their vendors are, et cetera. Then in understanding that landscape, understanding what's most important for you to manage for them, what they're going to pay for, changes what you're doing with the solution. Like it's how those two are married together. And frankly, for the MSPs out there that are not really yet in the security service business, that's a great conversation to have, to say, let's map this out. And maybe you're not in a position to deliver the service, but you're building that standard of care, that trusted advisor, by saying, I want to know and I want to care and I want to understand. And frankly, at the end of the day, it could be a security service practice opportunity for you as an MSP and recurring revenue.
Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there was a previous conversation in the last panel, about, should we sell IT services and security as two separate products? The answer is no, but you should actually be pushing together. As a standard MSP, it used to be we just fixed IT problems. That, to be blunt, in this day and age, is really simple to do. Fixing an IT problem, first line support staff, that's it. Anybody can do that these days on Windows 11. The thing about MSPs today, and it's really MSSPs now, is where we're heading towards. It's all about security. That's what clients want now. Their biggest threat is not the computers falling and failing. That is not the problem that we had, 20, 25 years ago. Yes, it was. Even 10 years ago, hardware failing, backups failing, all that. Today, it's the threat of cybersecurity. That's the biggest threat to businesses worldwide, not UK or America. It's worldwide problem. And that's what we need to focus on. And as Anne-Marie just said, even if you can't deliver it, you need to be talking about it and finding a partner that can deliver the security for your clients.
Fantastic. Brock, as we're thinking about all of this, where do you see opportunities for MSPs with both IT delivery, security delivery, bringing the whole thing together? What are the opportunities you see?
Yeah, I think Andrew said it best. And again, using print as an example, it is nearly impossible today to become an expert on all makes and models of printers, right? There's so many makes and models and features and updates that you would spend all day, every day, and you still probably wouldn't even be an expert on all the different printers out there. And that's just printers. And so, it's not about spending all of your time becoming the expert. Instead, just become the hero, right? If printing is a pain to you and nobody likes managing printing, that means customers don't like it either. Then if you have the right tools, you can go to your customers and be the hero, not just the expert, but the hero that says, let me take this off your plate. I've got a ubiquitous tool. It'll be easy. We'll take care of it. It'll be secure. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
All right, so we've kind of summed up our questions today. I'd now like to give each one of our panelists, starting with you, Anne-Marie, an opportunity to share a little bit more about you and how people can get in contact with you and how you can assist them grow their revenue base.
Sure. I'll just reiterate. So Media Sonar, we are a software and service company. We work very much in the external attack surface space. We provide a digital risk exposure and remediation assessment software and service, and basically identifies surface indicators of data breaches, violence threats, reputational damaging content, etc., in the broader public online world of social, surface, deep, and dark web. To tie it back into kind of what we're chatting with today even more tightly, though, our digital risk assessments will allow MSPs to provide clients with like a summarized, actionable assessment of their exposure for their corporate digital assets. When we talked about that blueprint kind of conversation and mapping it out, it can serve as a really great tool to building a plan with clients, of saying, okay, this is what's out there for you. It's already there, sort of thing. And using that as that conversation starter in terms of, okay, so what are the opportunities to manage your attack surface or your digital risk exposure? And again, always trying to create opportunity for that MSP to build some recurring security service revenue and have that great standard of care leave with their clients.
Fantastic. Andrew, over to you, sir.
Okay, so we're specialists in Office 365. It's called the Complete Office Security Toolkit. And basically, it fixes the three major problems you have when you move from on-prem servers to Office 365. We only deal with Office 365, so we know every way that cyber criminals can get in. It's not just our knowledge, it's the cumulative knowledge of all the MSPs that we work with globally. And it makes us so that you can sleep at night, know that you're not only are you secure, but your clients are totally secure. And if there is a breach, because there will be, you'll know about it rapidly. The second thing it fixes, you can fix it really quickly. And when I say you, I mean your first line support engineers, because there's no point you as the boss being able to fix it because you keep being disturbed. You want your first line guys with very little experience in Office 365 to be able to fix it rapidly. And then the last thing that it fixes is monthly recurring revenue. Going back 10 years, I didn't know what monthly recurring revenue meant. I was changing 2 or 3 servers a month. I didn't care. I got plenty of cash coming in. When you move people to Office 365, well, there's no money in Office 365, that you get from the 15%, wherever it is. You only get it from the upsell, and you can only sell stuff to your clients that they actually need. And cybersecurity in Office 365 is definitely something that you need. So that's us in a nutshell.
I appreciate that. And Brock, bring us home, sir. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Thank you so much. I won't take very long. Printix has been providing cloud printer management for MSPs for over 12 years. It is a great tool that allows you to, from the cloud, manage any make and model of printer. So like we mentioned before, stop trying to spend all your time becoming an expert on every little thing out there. Use something like Printix that will allow you to be an expert immediately, overnight, manage all those printers, and most importantly, it'll allow you to give your users a process, allow them to print the way they want to. That also happens to be the most secure way to do it.
Thank you. All right, so I want to take this time to thank each one of you, and I want to take this opportunity to also thank Channel Program for the opportunity for us to do this.